It's I'm Gonna Stop Right There, the podcast that debates the burning topics in sports.
All right. Okay, so you want to do the countdown?
Yes, sir. All right. So in 5, 4, 3, 2. All right. How we doing this week, Coop?
Great. Yep. Tough loss by the Patriots to the Bucs, but what are you gonna do?
What are you gonna do is right. So I'm just gonna welcome everybody real quick to is it week 5, week 4, week 4? I can't even keep track anymore. Week 4 of the
yes.
of the I'm Gonna Stop You Right There podcast. So big news, just a little housekeeping before we get started this week. We lost Matt Shalhoub. He is out for the season, not due to injury. He just
season
season-ending schedule changes. So he's just a little bit too busy to commit to doing the podcast full time as well. So he will be missed, but the show must go on. So me and Coop, we're gonna take the reins from here and just do a 2-man podcast for the rest of the season here. So he will be missed. He's got his radio show, I think, so we can maybe plug the name to that in the description of the podcast. We'll see what happens here. But in any case, we are here and we're ready to talk some sports. So just to get things started, we're going to do our opening segment, our reoccurring opening segment, and talk about our favorite sports moment from the past week. So I will start us off this week. And my favorite sports moment is my favorite moment from the week for 2 reasons. The first reason, so I'll just say what the moment is first, actually. So it was the Yankees and Red Sox wild card game last night. And Stan came up and just hit a bomb into left field. And it looked like it was gone off the bat. Everybody thought it was gone. The stadium thought it was gone. He thought it was gone. He stood there for a second and watched it. And lo and behold, it bounced off the wall. And it ended up going for a single because he was trotting to first, ready to round all the bases to home. And the first reason that this is my favorite moment of the week was because of I don't know if you heard the announcer announcing it.
Yes, I did. I saw that. I saw that video today. It was on Freezing
hilarious.
Cold Takes. Oh man,
hilarious. He was like, "Wait, what? Did I?" It took him like an extra. It seemed like a full minute after it had happened.
Yeah.
It wasn't in fact a home run.
Wait,
what happened here?
Yeah, you can see on the video the ball not going over.
Right.
And like the radio announcers still seemed fully convinced that it was a home run. And then it took him like 3 seconds. It was like, wait a minute.
It is so funny because you could see the entire play happening. None of the players thought that it was a home run. At least once the ball hit it, the outfilders were getting it back into the infield. And I just thought that was hilarious. There's nothing like radio baseball announcers. They always have some just amazing takes, amazing little moments. But the second reason that this was so cool didn't actually have to do with this home run, I should say. So I'm a big Bill Burr fan, the comedian.
Oh yes.
And on his podcast for weeks now, well before this wild card was decided, he was going on and on about how he just hoped that the Red Sox could push him to a 1-game playoff, especially this year where the Red Sox weren't really projected to do too much. So I thought that was pretty great. So yeah, those are the 2 reasons, and the main one being the announcer just losing his mind about the home run and then having to walk that back in just the most hilarious way possible. So I'll throw it over to you.
Oh man. Jeez, that's why you can't trust the Yankees. I tell you. Oh man. So my favorite moment of the weekend was I was watching football with my brother and his friends, and we were watching NFL Red Zone, and we cut to the Chiefs game, and Tyreek Hill scores a touchdown as he usually does, and he just drops the ball and does a backflip in the end zone, and it's so casual, like, and it was just like that's just such a Tyreek Hill thing to do. Just like, yeah, I'm gonna show you that I can just do a backflip just like that. It's like Tyreek Hill would do that. He's just such a freak athlete. So that was cool to see. It reminded me of Jerome Simpson when he did an even more crazy thing. He was
the front flip, right?
Yeah. He was running into the end zone. Then he front flips over a defender and into the end zone, and like he sticks the landing. It's honestly one of the craziest plays in the NFL I've ever seen, and probably will continue to see. It was an absolutely absurd play. This wasn't quite on the level of that, but it was just so like crazy how he just so casually did it. Like he just thought on the spot, oh, I'm gonna do a backflip right now and it's totally gonna be fine. And he just did it and it was just so casual. Like, so that was my favorite moment from the weekend.
Yeah, Tyreek Hill is one of those players that he's so good and he does so many like spectacular things in the field that just kind of the consistent greatness kind of lulls you to sleep. And it takes something like a backflip into the end zone to wake everybody back up and be like, oh my God, this guy is like nothing we've seen in the league before. Yes. So yeah, that great moment. Definitely a great moment. So pivoting a bit here, we're going to talk a bit about the Bucs and the Patriots, which last week we talked a little bit about this on the podcast. And I think we both agreed that we just couldn't see Tom Brady going back to New England and losing, especially to a rookie quarterback. Mm-hmm. And it turns out that prediction was right, but it was a hell of a lot closer than I expected.
Yes,
and
me too.
I would go as far to say Mac Jones, I think, outplayed Tom Brady.
Yes, in this game he did.
In a lot of ways, which I think was surprising. I guess maybe to a Patriots fan, that's not as surprising. But the whole time I was thinking when it looked like the Patriots really had a chance. I was thinking about our discussion on the podcast last week and about how it just was undeniable in my mind that Tom Brady was going to go in there and take care of business. It just dawned on me, like I completely just disregarded the fact that Bill Belichick could do the same thing. And I think I wasn't giving Belichick enough credit. And I actually think that this was a big win for the Patriots, even though it didn't show up that way on the scorecard at the end of the day.
Yeah.
But as a Patriots fan, I am interested to hear what you have to say about this game as a whole and what you think it means for the Patriots going forward.
Yeah, like as you said, it was a lot closer than I thought it was going to be, and it's promising, I think, for the rest of the season that we went toe to toe with, I think, one of the greatest teams in the NFL right now in the Bucs with very solid on both sides, not so much on the defensive side this game, but they had multiple defensive players, I think, get injured in this game. But like you were saying, you said you weren't giving Belichick enough credit. I think Belichick made some crucial mistakes in this game that I think ended up to them losing the game. The big one was at the end, where it was 4th and 3, and it was the Patriots' last drive of the game, and they had the chance to go for it, and instead they kicked that 56-yard field goal by Nick Folk that ended up not making it. And I'm just like, that it's not like there's like 3 seconds left. Like, you could have advanced the ball a little bit further, or at least tried to,
right?
And then you'd have a shorter field goal for Nick Folk. And I think if that field goal is just even slightly closer, Nick Folk makes that, because Nick Folk has been a great kicker this year. He's been very accurate, but a 56-yard field goal in a rainstorm that's tough for any kicker to do in the NFL. So
what point of the game was that? Was that how much time was left during that point of the game? Do you remember?
I think there was around like 30 seconds left.
Did they have a timeout?
Yes, they did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that seems super questionable. I mean, analytics would tell you that that's when you have to go for.
Yeah.
That's definitely questionable. That's a great point. Are you at all worried about the Patriots' lack of ability to get their running game going? Or do you think that's just a product of Tampa Bay's defense just being locked down, or just the flow of the game?
Yes, I am. Anytime you have -1 rushing yards, that's cause for concern. That's never what you want to have happen. So the Patriots are never
just real quick. Nelson Aguilar led the team in rushing with 4 yards.
Yeah.
So that tells you all you need to know.
Man. Yeah. The Patriots have struggled for a while now with having a good rushing attack. They really haven't had a solid running back since LeGarrette Blount in 2016, I think it was. And Damian Harris, I think, is a good running back. But I don't know what it is. He's just not having the best start to the season, or not the season that we were hoping for. So I don't know if he's just not getting enough reps, or if it's an offensive line issue, or what. But when you just have the passing game, that's not which way you want to have happen. That makes just your offensive attack very one-dimensional, and it's very predictable for defenses to predict what you're going to do. So yeah, I am worried, but it's definitely it's definitely something that can be fixed.
Right. And so just I have the stats pulled up here. The Patriots had 8 total rushing attempts. And that's right. To, let's see, 42 total passing attempts. So the ratio there is way off. And to ask a rookie quarterback like Mac Jones, I mean, this I think is the big win for the Patriots, is that he went 31 for 40. Granted, he had that interception, but asking a rookie to throw 40 times against Tom Brady, against the reigning Super Bowl champions, and have the game that he did with that kind of efficiency, it's really something special. And so that's the point of optimism for sure. But yeah, I mean, it remains to be seen with the running game there. And real quick, just to pivot here a little bit to the defensive side of the ball for the Patriots. So as everybody who's watching this probably already heard, Stephon Gilmore was released after their contract discussions fell apart. And I believe it was today or late yesterday, he was traded by, let's see, it was a 6th round pick in 2023.
Yes.
That Carolina got him for.
Yeah.
Which I don't know if that's super low, or
I think that's low.
It seems like it, right?
Like
He's
Gilmore. Yeah.
Right. He's a veteran guy, no doubt, but
he won Defensive Player of the Year. And you're just going to give him up for that.
And there's a lot of teams. That leads me to believe that was probably the best offer. And that kind of blows my mind. There's a lot of teams with holes at corner.
Jeez.
And for that to be the best offer, something's not adding up.
I think that just shows maybe how seriously NFL teams take injured players. Like they really don't want a player that's even slight. I don't know how I'm gonna look up real quick how old Stephon Gilmore is. So he's 31 years old. So that's not really that young, but it's not really that old either.
Right. So, hope for 4 more seasons, give or take.
Yeah. So even if the player is just slightly old and is injured currently, they're just like, nope, we don't want him, even if he's been the Patriots top cornerback for years and has won the defensive player of the year as I said before, and he was very successful on the Bills. They're just like, nah, we don't want him. I don't quite understand that. But then again, I'm not in the NFL front office, but it still seems questionable to me, like you said.
What was his most recent? Was his most recent injury? Was it the shoulder, or was it the leg injury? If it was a leg injury,
let's see. I
know there was a really significant one. But in any case, the corner position is one where it seems like age and prior injuries add up a lot more in terms of on the field production than they might at other positions, right? You might be able to come back from a torn ACL, as a lineman or a wide receiver or something of that nature. But with the kind of work that corners have to do, with the kind of the predicting that they have to do of where the offense is going to go, where the wide receiver is going to go, the kind of cuts they have to make. If there was a leg injury and he's 31, it makes a bit more sense now that I'm talking through it out loud. But still, it seemed super low to me. I know that the Packers were speculated. They're always speculated, but they were speculated to be in the market for him. Especially with losing Jaire Alexander last week. I was just surprised to see him go for such a low price tag.
It's just the
it makes the Panthers right. Exactly. It makes the Panthers a lot more interesting too. A team that already is, I think, super interesting. It's a team that I think is either going to truly excel down the second half of the season, down the stretch, or they're just going to crash and burn. And it remains to be seen. I think their defense is the stronghold there, and this only makes them stronger, or at least it would seem. So we'll see how that all shakes out.
Yeah. I was just looking at an article about Gilmore, and it looks like it was a quad injury that he suffered last season. Yeah,
that'll do it.
Yep.
That'll do it. I mean, you need your legs, right? And
especially
at 31 years old, when you're matching up with the Jamar Chases, the 20-something-year-olds, you need your legs.
Yeah,
so that makes.
Yeah, Tyler, I'm gonna stop you right there. You don't need your legs to play football. What are you talking about? Oh man, just way too bold of a take right there from you. I don't know about that one.
I like it. Do you have last thoughts on this as the resident Patriots fan?
Yeah, it's just another classic case of the Patriots just giving up their star players for no legitimate reason. I think, like, sure.
Who slides in? Who are they good at corner, or I don't follow the Patriots enough to know their situation there. As it stands in week 5.
I definitely think that Stephon Gilmore was their best corner by a noticeable margin. I guess the second best corner we have would be JC Jackson, but I don't think he's anything special. I'm not really a cornerbacks expert on the Patriots, but this definitely, I think, hurts the team a little bit. And we've got McCourty, who's Devin McCourty is still pretty solid, but he's a safety, so not quite the same, but in the same realm. So,
it's an interesting move nonetheless. It was super surprising to wake up and see that on Twitter yesterday or the day before. Jalen Smith was the other one, and both of those super surprising. So. Yeah, we know where Gilmore landed, Carolina, for a 2023 6th-round pick. Smith, it remains to be seen. Interesting stuff to start the season here. Big moves happening right away. So let's shift gears here and let's do some game picks. We haven't done a segment like this on the podcast yet, but with teams kind of building their resumes as we move through the season here, going into week 5. It could be a good idea here to take a look at some big games this weekend and make our picks, make the case for each of them. So we're going to look at 3 games here. The Rams at the Seahawks, the Browns at the Chargers, and the Bills at the Chiefs. And we'll start with the Rams at the Seahawks. That game will take place tomorrow night. What you think? What you got here? The Rams coming off a loss. Seahawks, I believe, coming off a win, if I have that right.
I think
I get my weeks mixed up.
I don't know.
Let's see. Yeah, the Seahawks came off a win over the 49ers. They won by a touchdown. So yeah. Two teams that's consistent, perennial contenders. What do you think?
Yeah, I think the Rams still have the edge in this matchup so far. They seem to be looking very strong right now. Got that huge win over the Bucs. That really just shows how good they can be. And Matthew Stafford's really playing great this season. Sort of like a Sam Darnold situation. Like he moves on from the team that he was with that just struggled for many years. And wonder if it's not really a case of the quarterback, but just the team or around him. So now that he's got great wide receivers like Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods, I think this team is going to be one of the favorites in the NFC. So yeah, I like the Rams in this matchup, and also Sean McVay is just a great coach. I think he's done very well with the Rams.
I'm going to agree with you on this one. I think that we'll talk about this a little more when we get into the power rankings discussion that we're going to have in a little bit here. But I think despite the Rams' loss last week, I still think that they are a top, if not the top, Super Bowl contender here for 2021. And I spent a lot of years as a Packers fan watching Matthew Stafford in Detroit, and it didn't matter that the Lions were bad, even on the really, really bad years. The Lions versus Packers games always brought me more fear than the Lions, Vikings, Lions, Bears games, no matter the situation, because of Matt Stafford. So any Lions fan who watched him play for years, or Packers fan, or you name it, anybody who watched him play for all those years when he came out of college, his success with the Rams is not surprising. I think that he's going to be a top MVP candidate at the end of the year. I think the Rams get it back on track this week. I think they take care of business even against the 12th man out there. So that'll be a fun one to watch on Thursday night. I'm looking forward to that. It's good to have good Thursday night games.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, because some of them are just so terrible. Like we had the Bengals and the Jaguars, which actually turned out to be a close game. And I was like, but like still you're like, well, we got like 2 rookie quarterbacks, but like one of them is like just doing terribly, surprisingly. And it's just like the teams in general are just like,
Right. I completely agree. It was an exciting one last Thursday, I will say. Maybe the more exciting stuff happened after the game, though, with the whole Urban Meyer debacle. Going on. So we won't get into that too much. I think other people have covered that plenty. But I think it's worth noting as well that the Rams lost to the Cardinals last week, and the Cardinals, my goodness, this team, there's not a hotter team right now, not a hotter offense. Their defense is coming together. We'll talk about them more when we get into the power ranking stuff. But saying the Rams came off a loss, I think you definitely have to say who they lost to. And I think that they're going to be just fine, and I think they take care of business tomorrow night in Seattle. So let's move on to our next game here. We have the Browns at the Chargers. Chargers picked up a big win against Oakland last week, division opponents. Great game all the way to the end. That was on Monday night. That was the Monday night game. And let's see, the Browns played the Vikings. Kind of a surprising game, though. They only scored 14 points. It was a low scoring game all around. 14-7 was the final there. And this week, it's the Browns have to travel to the Chargers, and I think the Chargers, the AFC West is just a scary division, scary good that is. And the Chargers, the Raiders, the Broncos, the Chiefs, all there, and the Chargers and the Raiders look great. The Raiders looked vulnerable last week, I will say, especially when Carr was under pressure. And on this podcast, I've been high on the Raiders, but the Chargers are a sneaky Super Bowl pick, I think. That they looked phenomenal. Their offense, with Justin Herbert firing on all cylinders, if he can stay consistent in his second year, that team's going to be scary. I think that this is a Chargers win. I'm not sure that it's a blowout by any means. The Browns have an amazing front on the defensive side of the ball. Their corners in secondary has been a bit spotty and questionable, but not bad by any stretch of the imagination. So I think this is a close game, but I do think that the Chargers pull it out. What's your thoughts?
I agree. I think the Chargers are gonna win this one. Justin Herbert has been pretty solid. As he was last year, Justin Herbert really had a breakout year that season, and people weren't too as keen as on Justin Herbert. Some people were, some people weren't. But some people weren't as keen on Justin Herbert as they were with Tua. But yeah, Justin Herbert has shown that he can lead a football team very well. And we've got the emergence of Mike Williams this year that has done tremendous and we also got Keenan Allen, of course. So we got a very strong wide receiving core. Unlike the Patriots, really, where our top wide receivers are like Kendrick Bourne and Jacoby Myers, and it's like why can't we have like those wide receivers?
Right?
So I
think what will be interesting here is the matchup between the Chargers defensive line and the Browns running game, because it seems like everything in Cleveland runs through Kareem Hunt and through that running game, Nick Chubb. So that'll be interesting. And look, if the Chargers can stop that running game, this one might be a blowout. This one might get off the rails a bit. Mayfield didn't play that well last week against kind of a shoddy Minnesota secondary. I haven't seen too much about Minnesota this season, but I do know that their defense is what's hurting them so far as we've gone along here. Poor defensive line play up front, and really, I shouldn't say poor secondary play. They have a very young secondary. But still, that's a surprising thing. And this was a game that Nick Chubb went for 100 yards on, I believe, 20 plus carries. So they had the run game going. It was just a bad day for Baker, even though they got the win. If the Chargers can show up and stop the run, they have a far better secondary than Minnesota, and this one could get ugly, especially with it being in LA. So we'll see. It'll be a great game, though. This is one that I'm definitely looking forward to.
Yeah. Browns wide receivers like Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, haven't done great this year so far. They've done all right, but they haven't had any big games so far. Maybe that's the fault of Baker Mayfield. Maybe that's their own fault. I don't know. But we'll see. The Browns are sort of how they've always been. Like, they're sort of a volatile team. You could get the good Browns team. You could get the mediocre Browns team.
I agree. I think the Browns will be fine. I think that this is going to end up being a good year for them, and I think they're trending up. But I agree. They're a bit they're a bit volatile right now. That's for sure. And I think this is going to be a big game. We're going to really find out who they are this week, especially going into a hostile environment like that. So we'll see. That's a good one though. That's one that I'm definitely marking down in the calendar. And the last one here that we want to discuss is the Bills at the Chiefs. Another big game. Chiefs have not looked like the championship contenders that they have been in the past 5 seasons. That's not to say that they've looked bad, but their defense has definitely been spotty. The Bills' offense is obviously something to talk about, but the Bills' defense too is something that I think, like, if the Bills are firing on all cylinders, which is to say, if their defense can hold Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs' offense in check, then I'm not sure that the Chiefs' defense is up to snuff to keep the Bills' offense, Josh Allen and company, in check. And I think that the Bills pull this one out, which is big news in KC, because that goes from the Chiefs being on a slight dip to now a downward slide, especially in the AFC West, where really every game matters. Even though this isn't a divisional game, you have to imagine with every loss that you incur, there's 3 teams with the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Chargers that are more than likely to pull out a win that week, unless they're playing each other. So in the AFC West, wins are at a premium, and the Chiefs cannot afford to lose this one, which also makes it a bit more interesting. But yeah. I still think that the Chiefs defense is too questionable right now to keep up with Josh Allen. And I think the Bills defense is good enough to stop Patrick Mahomes and keep this from being a shootout. So I think the Bills take this one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah. I would want to disagree, since, to have some debate, but I think you could be right. I think this is going to be a lot closer than the Chargers-Browns game, but I think that the Bills are going to end up, edging this one out, because, just off of momentum, one thing I think, and Josh Allen is having, some would say, an MVP like season right now, and you've got Stephon Diggs, who is also having a terrific season, and we got a pretty good running game from guys like Zach Moss, and the defense is playing pretty well too. So overall, the Bills are just a very solid team right now in the AFC. And if the Chiefs lose this one, that's going to be tough ground for them to make up if they're close in record with the Bills at the end of the season. Oh man,
I was muted again.
You muted again. Oh geez.
I just wanted to express my agreement. So nothing new to add on that one. I completely agree. And this is a great slate of games this week. There was some honorable mention ones that we could have talked about. Like, let's see here. It's like 49ers Cardinals. That could be a big one. Although I don't think it's as big. I don't think the 49ers are as good as people think they are. And they're going into the Cardinals facility there. So I don't see that one being that close. And then we also have the Ravens and the Colts. The Colts have been looking better. That one's Colts at Ravens though. And once again, I think the home field advantage, Lamar Jackson playing out of his mind. I think that one's a Ravens victory too. And
it's like the Colts with Carson Wentz, it's not reliable at all. He's not been in it at all. So, when your starting quarterback can't stay healthy, that's never really a good thing. That's never who you want to have injured. Yeah. So
speaking of quarterbacks, we didn't plan on talking about this. I just want to interject and get your thoughts. So Matt Nagy announced that Justin Fields is the starter going forward. Now, he played well last week. Bears got a win, right? Yeah, Bears got a win. And he played well. So granted, it was against the Lions team that is reeling right now. The Lions are 0-4. What do you make of this? Last week we talked kind of at length about Matt Nagy and his decision making. Do you think this is the right decision? I believe this direct statement was, even if Andy Dalton is healthy, Justin Fields is our QB1.
Oh yeah, I definitely think it's the right decision. This decision should have been made at the start to make Justin Fields the number one QB. I couldn't understand why they take Justin Fields with the number 15th pick and then not start him over Andy Dalton, who has, like, you know, been an all right quarterback. He's taken the Bengals to the playoffs, but he hasn't done anything other than that, and seems to be falling off these past couple years. So I'm like, why don't you just start Justin Fields now? Like, if not now, when? You know. So overall, I think Matt Nagy has just no idea what he's doing. He's just got a very questionable decision making. It's just like, all right, we're gonna start Andy Dalton. Wait, you know, maybe all three quarterbacks are in consideration. Wait, no, Andy Dalton's our starter if he's healthy. Wait, no, Justin Fields is gonna be our starter. He's just like, what's going on with this man? Like, oh man.
See, so I'm just happy they made a decision.
Like,
good or bad, right or wrong, I'm happy that they made a decision, and it's like steadfast and in stone. Like, even if everybody else is healthy, this is our guy.
Yeah.
And no matter, right. Bears fans should be super happy.
Bears fans are probably like, finally.
Right, exactly.
Took you long enough.
Right. I just, if I was a Bears fan, I just couldn't deal with the anxiety of wondering who's going to be under center each week. It'd be like, dude, just make a decision. I don't even have to agree. Right. Like, I don't even have to, if it was Andy Dalton, fine. At least you made a decision and we're sticking to it. You know, that type of thing. Because at this point, it's just ridiculous. This week they got the Raiders. So either the Raiders are going to prove me right and they're just going to beat the hell out of them and it's going to be ugly. Or Justin Fields is going to take that confidence of being the unquestioned starter and run with it. But we'll see. It's a tough matchup for his second start here in the league. So we shall see.
Yeah, that's going to be a tough game for Justin Fields to start, because the Raiders have been really, really solid this season. I really have faith in Justin Fields, but if he can immediately just take over this Browns team and lead them to a win, I don't know. That remains to be seen.
It'd be a big one. I mean, they're going into Las Vegas, so I don't think they win this one, but it'll be an interesting game to watch nonetheless. Actually, one that I'm looking forward to a bit more, just because of the whole Justin Fields, Matt Nagy saga that they have going on there. But let's shift over to a little bit of a power rankings analysis here. We haven't done this yet on the podcast either, but this week we're referencing here the ESPN power rankings. So these might be different than other sources for power rankings. But the idea kind of came to me when I saw the Buffalo Bills as the consensus number one overall team going into week 5 here. And the reason that stuck out is because I think it's just wrong. I really don't think this one is right. I don't think they're a bad team by any stretch, but their defense is playing well, but they haven't really played. While they've played good teams, some good teams, they haven't played good quarterbacks. I think they played against 3 backups. I think there's a lot yet to be proven for the Bills as far as consistency goes. And I think if we're just going off the eye test, and if we're just going, if these power rankings, I guess I'm not sure if these power rankings are set up like who's the best team in the league this week, or who do we see winning the Super Bowl type thing, right? So if it's who's the best team in the league this week, sure, the Bills with the blowout win, I get that, right? Then maybe I can get on board with this. But if we're looking at the entire season, if we're taking everything in aggregate here, I don't know how you put the Bills over the Cardinals. I don't know how the Cardinals aren't the number one team sitting at 4-0 with the way that their offense and defense is playing. Perhaps it's one of those things where people think whoever they have doing these power rankings, analysts, media members, whoever it is, maybe they think that the Cardinals still have more to prove. Maybe they think that they had a hot start last year and this could be deja vu and we're going to fall off the rails. I don't think that's the case this year in Arizona. I think they have the right pieces with DeAndre Hopkins, veteran leadership, JJ Watt's veteran leadership, Kyler Murray playing out of his freaking mind. It seems like they have all of the right pieces in all of the right places. And it doesn't seem like this is a fluke. So right off the bat, I think that the Cardinals should be ahead of the Bills for sure. And I actually think that the Rams, I think that it should be Cardinals number 1, Rams number 2, and then Buffalo at the number 3 spot there. So that was why I wanted to bring this segment on board here, just because I think that at least in the first 3 here, they have it way wrong. So
I think there could be a case that could be made for the Bills. I think a big part of a team's success is about their quarterback, and you could say that Josh Allen is more experienced and has been more consistent than Kyler Murray these past one season and a couple weeks this season. Not to say that Kyler Murray's not a great quarterback, but with a lot of these very mobile quarterbacks is that they tend to be very injury prone, like Robert Griffin III, or possibly Russell Wilson, for example, or maybe even Dak Prescott. Yeah. So I think what is being based off here is just how experienced the Bills are in big situations, and their playoff experience, especially because the Cardinals really haven't made it far in the playoffs. They didn't even make the playoffs last year, did they?
I don't believe so. I think that they were. Let me look into that real quick because I am not sure.
I'm pretty sure they didn't. I'm pretty sure they were close to making it, but didn't quite make it.
If I remember right, they're one of those bubble teams. Yeah, they ended the year 8-8, third in the division.
All right. Yeah. So. Yeah, they're one of those teams last year that was definitely talented, but couldn't quite put all the pieces together and win enough games to get a playoff spot. So I could see why the Bills are number 1 right now, just based off of that experience. But I think the Cardinals are definitely one of the hottest teams right now, and they're definitely a force to be reckoned with in the NFC.
What do you think about? So I have also some gripes here with the bottom half of the top 10. So on ESPN here, they have the Cowboys at 8, the Chargers at 9, and the Raiders at 10, all ahead of the Chiefs, who are at 11.
Interesting.
Now, I'm fine with the Chiefs being outside the top 10. I think that the Chargers deserve more credit. I'm talking like ahead of the Ravens and ahead of the Browns for sure. And you know what? Even ahead of the Packers right now, given the injury problems that the Packers have. So I think that they're just getting incredibly disrespected here. And I also think the Cowboys aren't getting enough respect. They had a big win last week. Their offense looks incredible. It almost looks unstoppable. And they're sitting at 8 right now, again, behind the Ravens and the Browns and the Packers, who 3 teams that I think don't have the resume so far this season. A resume that's better than the Cowboys. And then the Cowboys are one of those teams that kind of consistently get too much hype. Everybody picks them to win the Super Bowl to start the year, and then they just wildly disappoint. But this year, something seems to be different in the water over there at Jerry World. And so I think the Chargers and the Cowboys are both getting a lot of disrespect here, and even the Raiders to a degree. I do think the Raiders showed some vulnerabilities last week in terms of how their offensive line held up against pressure, and just the ways that they were able to handle that pressure, which is to say, I don't think that they handled the pressure well. But that being said, I still think the Chargers and the Cowboys deserve more respect. And I think that they should be something like ranked 5 and 6 respectively. So I don't know. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think with what you were saying about there's something, different in the water in Jerry World this year. I think a big part of it is just that Dak Prescott's back. So that's a huge factor. When you don't have, random quarterbacks being started every week to lead this Cowboys team. And I think this
Dak's a top 3 quarterback in the league. Mark my words.
Yeah, I definitely think he's up there. He's done very well, especially in fantasy. He's been a great fantasy quarterback. And they're also a very complete team. Like they've always got Ezekiel Elliott, and they've got Amari Cooper, very solid wide receiver. They've also got Michael Gallup, who is a great wide receiver as well. I
think Gallup went to the shoot. Did he go to the Lions?
Oh, is he not on the Cowboys anymore?
I believe he was. They didn't pick up the option here. Let's see here.
No, he's still on the Cowboys.
He's still with the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Wait, I think I'm forgetting another Cowboys wide receiver. Is there one that's like higher up on the depth chart than Michael Gallup between him and Amari Cooper?
That's fine.
Let's check. Let's check that. Oh, CeeDee Lamb. That's
CeeDee
right.
Lamb. How did we forget?
Yeah.
How did we forget CeeDee Lamb?
A guy like CeeDee Lamb? What a name there. Actually,
Michael Gallup's on IR right now too.
Oh yeah. Jeez. Well, I guess he's not doing too much for them right now. Yeah.
Not right now.
Yeah. So. Yeah, actually,
it's a calf injury. It's probably short-term IR.
Okay, well, that's good. So hopefully, Michael Gallup will be back in the lineup and having good production for the Cowboys. But anyway, I was just gonna say that my fantasy football team last year was Dak has a little. I can't speak tonight. Dak has a little lamb, which I thought was pretty clever.
Let's talk some fantasy. If you're good to segue over here.
Yeah, for sure.
Clever name, definitely a clever name. My team name from last year was something that I can't say on air, so
oh man,
we'll just keep that. I'll text it to you later, and you'll see exactly why. But I decided to keep it a bit more mundane this year. Bit more PG. So, but yeah, how did your fantasy week go this week?
It went well. Got the win. Yeah. Let's see. Let me pull up the exact score. Geez, Sleeper. I don't. This is my first time using
Yeah, I am
Sleeper.
not
So
impressed with this app. It's my first time too, and it
yeah,
seems
it
much less
seems
user friendly.
yeah, it seems like there's a little too much going on. Like
Yes, I completely
it's
agree.
not very. What the hell? It doesn't
It's
seem
super busy.
very streamlined. Okay.
We can kiss our sleeper uh, sponsorship goodbye after that little.
Yeah, yeah.
I know
Um,
they were hot on the trail here, trying to get their foot in the door.
yeah,
But
yeah.
make a better
Yeah,
app, sleeper.
yeah. Yeah, I'm on my laptop right now, but it might just be easier to do it on the phone. Okay, here we go. So actually, no, I was wrong. I lost this week. Jeez, I'm just a mess. I can't think of anything. I couldn't think of CeeDee Lamb, and now I couldn't remember if I even won. Oh man, but yeah, I lost by 30 points, 100.34 to 134.72. How about you?
I mean, that's probably why it wasn't super memorable, right? Because
Yeah.
it wasn't super close. I ended up winning this week. Let's see, did I win this week? Yeah, I won this week pretty handily. It was by about 60 points. Big days for Jonathan Taylor, which I'm glad that I actually was kind of forced to keep the faith in him, because my next best here is Tony Pollard. Which actually, this next week, Damian Williams will probably see an increased role. I believe David Montgomery in Chicago was injured. I don't know that for sure, but I believe that's what I've heard on Twitter and things like that. So hopefully I can slide in Damian Williams to play for Tony Pollard there. But yeah, otherwise it was an all-around good week. Travis Kelce had kind of a down day. Only 4 receptions for 23 yards. So that was rough, but it's kind of surprising too. It was a high scoring game in Philadelphia there, surprisingly. But that's not something that I expect to continue. That's not a trend that I'm going to bank on. Obviously, Kelce is a set it and forget it type guy. But
Definitely.
Huge days from Deebo Samuel, big day from Corey Davis. And Deontay Johnson got back into it against Green Bay. And Deontay Johnson would have had a bigger game. Big Ben missed some big throws. That game in Green Bay, I wrote this in my reaction article for the week. It could have been a lot worse than it was for the Packers. The Packers probably should have lost that game if Ben Roethlisberger makes some of the throws that he missed. He missed a couple wide open receivers. The Packers' coverage in the secondary was super questionable at certain points throughout that game. Lost Jair Alexander to injury, I think, in the third quarter. Kevin King was out. Eric Stokes was the next best man up, and he's a rookie. He hasn't even started all 4 games. I don't believe he played a snap until week 3. So yeah, their secondary was hurting, and Big Ben just missed throw after throw. But Deontay Johnson still had a nice game, 9 receptions, 92 yards, and a touchdown. Should have been a few more, but that was big for me as well. But yeah, the thing that's going to hurt me down the stretch is running back depth. I am hurting in that department. Like I said, my 1-2 next week is going to be Damian Williams and Jonathan Taylor. So we'll see if I can make something happen on the trade block, but beyond that, I'm not sure what to do for that. Hopefully just get some big games out of guys that don't normally have big games, but I'm living on a prayer at this point.
Yeah. The top score for me this week was Terry McLaurin. Boy, did he have a game this week. He got 30.3 points, 6 receptions for 123 yards and 2 touchdowns. What a big game for McLaurin. And this has been a string of great games for him, as he's really
I gotta stop you right there. So Terry McLaurin, he is one of the most bittersweet players in the league for me. And that's because he is phenomenal. Like, one of my favorite up-and-coming players, one of everybody's favorite up-and-coming players, just a amazing talent. So the Packers decided that instead of drafting him, they wanted to take Jay Sternberger, who they since released this season.
Oh man, I haven't even heard of that guy.
Yeah, no, right. Most people haven't. He spent a lot of time in the practice squad, was injured for a minute, and then with Bobby Tunyon taking over the tight end 1 role there in Green Bay, and Mercedes Lewis playing until he's 80 and still being effective, there just was no need for him. And oh my goodness, the Packers front office has hit on a lot of draft picks as of late. I think Brian Gutekunst, however you say his last name, for all of the offseason flack he got with the Aaron Rodgers saga, he's actually made some pretty good decisions. But this one is one that just hurts. Every time I hear Terry McLaurin, it's just like, oh my God, like he could have been doing this in green and gold. Instead, he's catching balls from Taylor Heineke, like just ridiculous. Anyway.
Yeah, that's tough. Yeah, that happens a lot where some draft decisions were made, and you just look back and just like that was such a terrible decision. Why did they ever make that? But as they say, hindsight is 2020. After a big string of monster games, Mike Williams just was a complete dud this week. But that I guess it was sort of bound to happen sometime or later. But it was just surprising how little points he had from just scoring 30 points
right.
just recently. So yeah, that was a bit surprising that he didn't just have an average game. He just did not get really anything going at all. Only 2 points. Overall this week I didn't do that bad. Sure. Some people like Dalvin Cook and Cortland Sutton, and Mike Williams obviously could have gotten more points, but it was just a more consistent effort from the other team in this matchup. And this is the third fantasy league I'm in, so honestly this is the team that I check last, and sometimes I don't even have time to check it before the games start. So I actually started in another player that didn't play this week, Sterling Shepard. I started him, and I don't think he played this week, so that just shows you how committed I am to this league.
Fantasy for me too this year has taken a bit of a backseat. Just with everything else going on in life. It's definitely still a fun thing to watch and to be a part of on Sundays, Mondays, and Thursdays. But it's definitely less on my radar than it has been in years past. That said, I will take a W on any given Sunday, all the way to the bank. So.
Yeah. How many leagues are you in? Because as I said, I'm in 3.
I have 3 as well, but one of them is, so every year I do what I call a throwaway league, where I basically it's for research purposes type of thing, right? I let it auto draft and I see what I get, and that way I can keep an eye on that waiver wire and compare it to my other teams and leagues. But surprisingly, maybe not surprisingly, that's the league where I'm doing the best right now. I'm 4-0 in that league. So I would say I have officially 2 leagues, despite doing well in this third throwaway league. But yeah, the time that I used to put in fantasy, it just doesn't compare to the lack of time that I have now to put into it, which kind of sucks, but it is what it is. So
yeah, when I was in middle school or high school, I'd like check it multiple times a week, and now now it's like I check it like once on Sunday at 11 a.m. or
it's amazing too.
Like that.
I've always, so when there's money on the league, then I will be into it.
Mm-hmm.
Which is sad to say because like I don't want money to be the only incentive, but it definitely drives me to the phone screen or the computer screen a lot more when, even if it's just like $5 that I put in, right? Like, so maybe next year I'll get back into a bit of a betting pool. It just wasn't in the cards this year. But in any case, I think we are getting close to time here. So I'll give you the last word. Do you have any closing remarks for the people?
I would just say to the Patriots fans, hey, don't be so blindly trusting of Bill Belichick. Like there was a stat in the Patriots Bucs game that with Brady, Belichick is like, something, I think it was around like 123 and 77, somewhere around there. And then without Brady, he has a losing record. It's like 64 and 77, something like that. Well, the bottom line is Belichick has not done well without Brady as he has with him. So everyone's just like, hey, I'm not gonna lose trust in Bill ever. It's just like I feel like the main reason why the Patriots did so well for so long is that they had the greatest quarterback that this league has ever seen, and now that they don't have him, Bill's just like, shit. Let's
throw enough money at it, and that'll solve the problem. Hot take to end it. You're only going to hear it here. Bill Belichick is overrated, according to Cooper Sherman.
Resident Patriots fan. Bill Belichick is sort of just like, who is this guy? What's this guy doing sometimes?
Tommy's nothing. You know what? I'm not a Patriots fan, so I have far less knowledge on this than you. But I mean, the eye test, I'm willing to agree with you on that one. That's for sure.
And he's also just so grumpy all of the time. And like when you're winning, that's kind of charming. Just like, he doesn't care what anybody says. But when we're losing, it's just like, come on, Bill, you're gonna continue to just be like an absolute dick to reporters, just being like, hey, I don't know. That's how it works out, and you gotta do it. You gotta get ready for next week. So that's all.
You thought about being Bill Belichick for Halloween? I think you got the voice down. I think you got it down there.
Yeah, that's actually the first time I've tried a Bill Belichick impression. That could be a brand new thing. So maybe I'll try that on TikTok. See if that gains traction.
Luckily, you won't have to say that many words. You master like 3 words, and then you got his whole freaking vocabulary nailed down. So
we're on to Cincinnati.
There you go. Perfect.
Yeah.
All right, and with that, we will move on to week 6 next week.
No, week 5.
Week 5? Yeah. I mean, we're moving on to next week. We'll say it that way. Moving on to next week. All right. It was fun. Hope everyone has a great week, and we will see you all next week.